Hello everyone and welcome to this video, which is in our Engine Snack series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler and we're taking a look at a lovely tactical episode in the game between Leela 0 and Scorpio NN, TCEC, Season 22, Division P. So in this position, Black has got some good things and some bad things. Well, the active Bishop on D4 and the Queen on H4 are definitely good things, creating threats against the White King, either with Rook H8 or Queen F2. Well, the bad thing is that Black's a pawn down, and the Bishop on B7 is a really bad thing, blocked out of play by this solid pawn chain C4 D5, and also vulnerable to attack along the B file. The biggest problem though is that it's white to move, and somehow Black doesn't have time to develop its threats any further. And of course, you know, the Black King is a little bit bereft of cover, and that becomes particularly painful in the coming moves. So White played F5 here, opening up the attack of the Rook on the Queen on H4. Now, what you'd really want to do is to play the move Queen F2, threatening Queen F1 or Queen G1 mate. But actually, simply playing a move like Queen C1 is pretty safe. Rook H8, we go F takes G6, exposing the king, and if we go Bishop E5, attacking the pawn on H2, we've just got Bishop F4. Another important point is that if we go Queen G3, we go H3, and F takes G6 has allowed the bishop to cover and defend the pawn on H3, all very important. So Black plays Queen D8, hitting the bishop on D7. And yeah, there's a couple of ideas here. Actually, funnily enough, Leela was looking at playing this move, Bishop E6, early on, and it is extremely strong. And this was Stockfish's choice against Koivisto in my games. And yeah, I mean, it's very, very. In a way, you know, this is quite clear. You could sort of stop here and say, and White is winning. However, yeah, when you look at the engine lines, the defences that are found, then you sort of, yeah, you sort of realise that that it's not as simple as all that. Black's threatening Rook B1 check in this position, and well, I mean, the fact that you've got this Queen on H5, and you know, the pawn can't take the queen because the rook's pinning the pawn. That means that you can't afford too much disruption in your position, and well, this is kind of a problem, really. I mean, H4 is obvious to give the king some room. I mean, we're threatening Bishop H6 or Queen H6 here, but actually, Black has not just a defense, but actually, you know, Black's actually just going to end up winning this. We block the bishop's path to the king, and the key point is after takes Queen G5, which, you know, still looks promising, threatening H5. We've got this move Rook E6 and Queen E6, and well, Queen G4 check is going to follow, and it's going to be very, very unpleasant for White. So yeah, after Rook B7, the key move there was to play Bishop C1, very difficult move to spot. And what's the point of it? Well, you know, White's just otherwise going to play H3, get his king to safety. And if you go Rook B1, I've got this gorgeous little idea, actually, which is to go Rook takes G6 check. And after Queen G6, we've got Queen F8 check. King can't come here because the bishop is covering. And after Queen E5, we've got King E5 rather, we've got Queen F4 mate. Yeah, this is quite tricky to see, I have to say. In particular, this move, Bishop C1, is very, very difficult. Bishop C6 was what Leela played in the end. It is quite weird in a way because, you know, quite weird that exchanging off Black's worst piece should actually be quite a convincing way to victory. But yeah, again, it's very, very tactical. I don't know whether it's more or less difficult than what we've just seen. I mean, in some ways, there are some very difficult moves to find, but it's quite there's not that many branches in the tree. So, with some great tactical imagination, you might get quite away with this. So, Bishop C6 takes, and Queen F6 was played, and of course we can't go FG because there's Queen F1 checkmate. So Rook G4 played Rook C8, and well, it is kind of hard to understand from afar why this should be so good for White. I mean, we're a pawn up, but Black's going to recapture this one. And you know, we still can't go at FG because of Queen F1 check. So it looks really hard to increase the pressure on Black's king side. But somehow by playing across the whole board using all sorts of tactical motifs, yeah, I mean this basically seems to be a force win for White. Certainly, you know, in this whole all of the engine games I ran from there at various points in this game, it created 46 wins out of 46 for White. So yeah, you can see how convincing it is. We know, whereas obviously for a human player it's pretty complicated. Queen B1 played, covering the F1 square. Rook C6 takes. Queen B7 check. So we've been attacking here, and now all of a sudden we're attacking this loose rook on C6. But Black seems to have a very simple way of defending here. Queen F7. Now you might spot, obviously Queen C6 allows Queen F1 check. You might spot this this little Bishop H6 check idea, but you might well just reject it simply because Black just plays King G8, Queen B8 check, King H7, and yeah, what have you got? You know, I mean, you've got a hanging bishop on H6. There's a mate threatened on F1. What have you achieved? The amazing thing is that you've got, well, it's the next two moves basically. Bishop F4 blocks Queen F1 check and threatens Rook H4 check. So Rook H4 check, King G7, Queen H8 mate. And I mean, you do start to realise, you know, just for example, how badly you've managed to misplace this black rook by making it capture this pawn on C6. So how does Black cover this Rook H4? Well, Black seems to have a great reply. Queen E7, stopping Queen H4 and threatening Queen E1 mate. But now the second beautiful move with the dark squared bishop. Bishop G3, stopping Queen E1 and threatening Rook H4 check again. Amazing, absolutely amazing play. So Black plays Bishop F6 here, and that stops Rook H4 check. But Black doesn't have any more threats now. I mean, there's no threat of Queen E1 check or anything like that. So now it's White's turn to start attacking again. And yeah, there's a few great moves here. Queen B1 coming back, threatening Queen G6. Queen F7 played to defend the G6 pawn, and now H4. And whereas before, you know, if you tried to play H4 to H5, you could have had, the king was on G7, you could have had a rook coming over to H8, just hitting this king on H1. Now the rook's useless on C6, and the king is on the H file as well. So, you know, Black's been completely pulled out of shape here. King G7, Queen F5, there are many moves, good moves for White here, but I like this one very much. Just a sort of creeping move, getting close to the Black position. We're threatening Bishop F4 and H5 here. Bishop D4 was played, Queen E4, hitting the loose rook on C6. Amazingly, we can put our king perfectly safe here, and then we're still threatening C6 and G6. So, well, Black played D5, but here Leela played takes, King H7, C takes D5, and, well, won a pawn in a queen and rook ending. The black king was very weak. Leela followed up with H5 to open up the king even further, and this was a pretty comfortable win for Leela in the end. So absolutely wonderful tactical play there, and I mean, yeah, Bishop E6 on move 28 was brilliant, but Bishop C6, this was also incredible, and in particular this idea of retreating to B1, giving a check on B7, moving to B8, abandoning the attack on the rook, and then later coming back with Queen B1 and restarting the attack, and then coming in for the kill on the king side. Really amazing play. And of course this dark squared bishop play, Bishop F4 followed by Bishop G3, was outstanding as well. Brilliant play from Leela.